guys, join me tonight on Grab a Stack of Rock with Michael Ladano as we interview author Tim Durling on his latest book, Red on Black, The Listener's Guide to Sammy Hagar. It's going to be a blast. Great conversations are guaranteed, so don't miss it. The party begins tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. So tune in. What are you waiting for? Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I don't need to take this. I'm taking the stairs. Or maybe I'll just take the elevator. Why do that when I could just take this escalator? I'm running out of room. Oh, are you laughing at me? I'm out of here. Good thing I got this perfectly crafted canoe.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us on a Friday night for Grab a Stack of Rock with my co-host tonight, Mr. Jex Russell, and our special guest, Mr. Tim Durling. And he's doing that 5150 thing that Sammy used to do in the Live Without a Net video. Tim, how are you tonight? He's doing that thing that he does.
He's doing the thing. He's doing the thing.
I'm doing really good, guys. I'm glad you weren't waiting to bring me on, Mike, because I crouched down. I can't do that very long. My knees were killing me. I'm not like Jax. I can't do the whole.
No, I know. That was a tour de force introduction. Thanks for that cold open, Mr. Jex Russell. Tim, congratulations on the publishing of your fourth book. And this is the fourth book in 4 years? 5 years? 3. There you go. So this is your, I'm going to say, first solo book in a way, because the other 3 had contributions from myself and John T. Snow and Marco Dori and a whole bunch of other people. So why don't we start with just a quick question and then we'll have some fun. Jax knows what I'm talking about. But
right. Okay.
I guess my quick question is, was there any trepidation on your part saying, oh my God, I got to write the whole thing myself. I can't bring in Martin Popoff to write a chapter or anybody else?
At the risk of no false modesty, but no, I had a lot that I wanted to say in this book. And it had been, I realized once I started, a lot of this stuff had been cooking up here for a long time. Just needed to bring it out. Henry, hi.
Henry's in the house.
I'm actually going to piggyback off of Mike's question right out of the gate, if I may, because we're talking about how it's your fourth book, but let it be known that it's your third book in 10 months? In the past 10 months? Because YNT came out in December, did it not?
Yeah. No, it's look,
That's impressive.
I can't do it myself. You know,
Of course.
we have got to give credit to our good buddy Matt who
Phillips.
designs the books. Go North Design, guys, the best at what he does. But yeah, you know, it's awesome. You know, I'm surrounded by a lot of cool people, and a lot of people help make this happen. So, yeah.
So, because this was fast after your Kansas book, came out maybe 3 months after, 4.
It's all a blur now, Jack.
Tell them makes sense, but I'm just wondering, like, did you have like a head start on this, like before the Kansas book even came out, or did the Kansas book come out and you're like, I'm getting started on my 4th book right away?
I wish I had a witty answer for you. I cannot remember. I really can't. I may have had a couple of things typed out while the Kansas book was in you know, post production, as they say.
Right.
I can't remember. It's all been such a blur.
Well, it makes sense with 3 books in 10 months. You know, I can understand it all.
Johnny Metal, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, John.
Well, don't worry too much about the wit, because we intend to bring some of that tonight. Jex, are we ready? Are we ready to do this?
Sure.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so Jex is going to get into character here. Welcome to the quiz with your quiz master, Mr. Jex Russell, and myself, Tim Durling. Tonight on the quiz, we are actually going to be
over here.
We are going to be quizzing you on your own book. So,
okay.
Without further ado, are you ready, Mr. Russell, to take it from here? Well, I've got 3 questions on the quiz.
Okay. Well, why don't you get started then? Because
okay. I am not the showman, but there are no prizes. My first question for Mr. Tim Durling is a fun fact that you, the viewer, can learn inside this book, Red on Black, The Listener's Guide to Sammy Hagar. Now, I know in my post today I said I wouldn't be throwing you any softball questions. This is a softball question. Who? Sorry, now I got to go back and read my question. Do I get the right? Got to get the wording right because it matters. The credit matters. Who engineered Chickenfoot 3?
That would be someone who has appeared on Mike's show before. Has he not?
Yes, twice.
Okay. The legendary Mike Fraser. You've seen his name on many an album, you know, produced by Bruce Fairbairn. You know, everything from AC/DC to like Poison. But yeah, he engineered Chickenfoot 3, which is actually Chickenfoot 2.
Right. That's a funny sort of like Naked Gun 2.5 or whatever they called it. 33 1/3.
For those that forget in the press, like, well, that's stupid. Why would they do that? The joke was they wanted to avoid the sophomore slump, so they skipped right ahead to their 3rd album.
And Traveling Wilburys also did a volume 3, and nobody gave the Traveling Wilburys crap. Yeah, nobody gave them crap. Now,
nobody bought that 2nd album either.
Now we have so this is we're just going to interject here. We're going to put up a guest question before Jex takes over his quiz question. But Uncle Meat wants to know: is there any truth to the rumor that your next book you are writing is called "Max the Axe to the Max"? Congratulations on the Red Rocker book.
That's a great title, but I'm afraid I'm not the man to do that. That would be Mike. I'll
be doing that.
By the way, happy birthday, Uncle Meat.
Yeah, it's happy birthday, my friend.
Happy birthday.
And happy birthday to Daryl Grave Helix.
Daryl Grave Helix. All right, Jex, would you like to take over?
Fate's Warning. Sorry.
the man with all the answers. You know,
He's avoiding the question, even though he got the first one right. We're 1 for 1. I'll be keeping score.
Don't I look
1
concerned?
for 1.
Do I look concerned?
He doesn't look concerned, but inside he's sweating.
I'm kind of sweating too. I'm gonna be honest, man. I put so much effort and focus on being able to show up tonight. I don't have any questions.
Oh shit!
I came here to look the part, and I had questions like about the book and stuff, but I don't have any quiz. I don't have any trivia quiz. So, Mike, that is your for today.
Boy, look
Okay.
at the time.
So you'll be sort of more my Roddy on The Price is Right. Then you can be that guy. You've got the colorful jacket. So yes, okay. So I'll take it away. Question number 2.
Didn't win, Al.
Question number 2 for Tim.
Question number 2. This is well, this is another softball, I guess. You mentioned in the book the Sam and Dave tour. Now, did that tour actually happen, or was it an elaborate global Mandela effect? He's laughing because I'm quoting him, basically.
Yeah, it happened, obviously, but the reason I stated that is because it's so strange and it's so odd that it actually took place, that if someone had told me, no, that actually didn't happen, I'd be like, well, that makes more sense than it actually happening, because I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did, because, man, I just, it would have been cool to have gone to, but I just, I got to say, though, I can't imagine what the crowds must have been like, because, man,
there's animosity between the fans online. They're constantly still to this day fighting in Facebook groups.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, where's Slavo? Slavo, leave a comment, man. Where are you, bud? All right, Tim. Since that was a question that was a softball, you are now 2 for 2, but you have to get a perfect score in order to pass on to the next level.
And if you get this one right, you can win a new car.
Could use one.
We'll call him Jex
Is it
Jexy.
a Trans Am?
It's a red Trans Am. Okay, actually, no, it's a Ferrari, and you get your own in-house mechanic with it, and his name is Claudio. And folks, these are
Claudio.
Nope, we don't have the budget. It's an AMC Gremlin, and it's green, but it's okay.
Henry, a new Lego car. Yeah, maybe. Okay, for your third question.
The home game.
Right, the home game. Okay, now there's 3 questions to move on to the final round, okay? Here's the third question, and this is the hardest of the 3. What is the name of the alien race that Sammy Hagar believes abducted him and inspired some of his song lyrics?
The 9.
3 for 3, Tim Durling. And these are all things you can read yourself in the book. That is a fact. Sammy Hagar believes they are called, that he was abducted by aliens, and this race is called the 9. And there was a reason for that
They're from
forgotten.
The 9th dimension. And that's
the
why
9th dimension.
Credits, it'll say the 9 music.
And Tim, can you name, like, say, 2 or 3 Sammy Hagar songs that are at least partially about aliens?
Well, Martin Popoff and I did an entire Contrarians episode about Sammy's concept album. So it was See Silver Lights.
That's right,
Someone
you did.
Out There. Little Star Eclipse. Well, there's 3.
Okay, there you go.
Love Walk.
And we've also speculated The Room may be something to do with that. It's very odd. It's an odd song.
I worked that song in there. I don't know if it is Space Station number 5 with Montrose.
We speculate. Yeah. Okay.
Also covered by Iron Maiden.
Yes, that's right. Covered by Iron Maiden. That was written. Was that written solely by Sammy Hagar, if I remember? Yeah. There you go. So that's kind of cool. Having your song covered by Iron Maiden.
Two Montrose songs covered by Iron Maiden, actually.
True, but only one that was a solo Sammy writing, I believe.
Okay. Ronnie Montrose wrote I Got the Fire himself.
So we're not going to stump this guy tonight. I can tell you that right off the bat. So for the $1 million prize.
I should know, right?
Yeah.
We got trouble if
we just wanted to make sure, but you passed the test.
Okay.
The real prize is the time we spent together.
Yes. Oh,
shucks.
All right. I do have a book question. Oh, do you have another quiz?
Yeah, we have to give him the $1 million. We have to give him the $1 million prize first.
Okay.
He was spinning the wheel. He just spun the wheel. Pat Sajak handed him the envelope. It's got the $1 million question in there. Okay. Are you ready? Shit. Sorry. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Who did you quote in your book regarding the late tax?
Why you, Ebenezer?
Give him the prize. Give him the prize. Thank you for that shout out. I really appreciated that. I cracked open his book, and I can't remember what album you were talking about, but it was generally about those 90s Sammy Hagar reissues, right?
Yeah, I was
and you were
talking
saying,
about, like, in general, yeah, if you don't get some of these things when they first come out, even if they are reissues, there's a there's a window.
There's a limited run. They only make so many. They don't print out a million of them.
It's not going to be perpetually in circulation.
No. But thank you for that shout out. I really appreciated that, and I know you gave John T. Snow a quote in the foreword there, and I think Ches was quoted. But anyway, very, very kind. But Jex, or Jexy, as he may be known in his game show persona. You had a question for Tim that was serious, not a joke.
So let's get into it. You mentioned, like, obviously you're going over Sammy's full discography. We're talking Montrose, Solo, Van Halen, Chickenfoot. Was that the idea that just came to you from the beginning, or did you start off like, oh, I'm going to write about Sammy Solo, and then maybe down the line you're like, well, no, I'm going to approach every single thing, or was that it from?
The plan all along was to concentrate on the solo albums, because I don't think there's been another book that's done that. But as I mentioned before, Matt said, you got to at least do a chapter on the bands. Because, see, I'm so into this music, right? I think, well, everybody knows about Van Halen, everybody knows about Montreux, but not everybody does. So I did dedicate a chapter to each of those bands, but every other album has its own chapter. But the idea all along was to do solo albums.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I very much enjoyed reading your reviews on these albums, because, to be truthful, this is the first time, and I'm speaking as a reader of your library. This is the first time I'm really getting a feeling for your feelings on songs. In the previous books, it was more like you're causing a conversation. You are moderating this cool conversation between some very knowledgeable music experts, which is a pretty cool thing in itself. But in this, I'm getting your voice more. And I enjoy your reviews. Each album is reviewed essentially in this book, right? And he goes track by track with a lot of biographical details about those albums, and I just want to do that for you. And I'm being sincere here, because I write reviews and I struggle writing reviews. Okay, like I've sat here and asked Martin Popoff, for tips on how to write reviews. So congratulations. Now say something about that.
You caught me. Well, thank you, first of all. Like I said, a lot of it just came out that way. I'd been really wanting to get my thoughts down on all of these albums, particularly the older ones, because I've been listening to those the longest, and I have pretty strong opinions about them. I'm not in favor of everything he's done, and I'm a huge fan, but I couldn't be a yes man. I couldn't just say, this one's great, that one's great. That wears thin after a while, because it can't be true. Nobody bats it out of the park every time. Nobody, and sometimes it's just down to stylistic differences in what I prefer to hear from an artist than what an artist actually does at any given point in time. But I'm just going to ramble.
Well, you can answer Meat's question there if you like.
Not a dark horse album to preach. Yeah, I can answer that question very easily. It's a latter-day album from 2000, his album 1013. I've got differing opinions on Sammy's post-Van Halen work, of which there is quite a lot.
Yeah, he's been prolific.
1013 is a strong album. It's a really strong album. Yeah, really strong album.
Just hold that up again, Jex. So there's the album cover there. And as you can see, you get the track listing, all the credits, everything you need to read about the album, to know what you need to know.
Yeah, 1013 is the dark horse, because that's an album that I bought dutifully when it came out, listened to it a couple times, and filed it. And going back, of course, I didn't want to rely on memory. I wanted to listen to everything. And listening to that album, I'm like, that's a good song. That's a good song. This is a really strong album. And, you know, it's from 24 years ago, but I still consider it a latter day album. It's one of the best. So yeah, that's an album that went way, way up in my estimation.
And as soon as you said 24-year-old album, I had a little shock went through my head, but it's true. Yeah. Marching to Mars, though, was his first post Van Halen album, and I liked a lot of that album.
My second favorite.
There you go.
Wow.
Of the post Van Halen.
No, of all of it.
Oh, of his catalog.
All
of his solo catalog.
I think that is the most personal, the most soulful. I hear so much emotion in that album. He was hurting.
Yeah.
He never wanted to leave Van Halen. Are you kidding me? He wanted to retire with those guys. Yeah. They were on a roll. They never had an album that flopped. And everything went to in that last year. So I hear a lot of hurt and pain in there, and I hear him exercising that pain throughout that album. That's how it strikes me anyway. Also, I just think it's a really strong album. It's got a really good amount of variety, but it's cool variety. It's rock. It's a really strong album, and that's not one that went up in my estimation because I've always been a big fan of it, and it hasn't changed. It's one of those. It's not like I listened to some of the albums like, well, I don't remember. I remember that being better than it was. No, I never had anything like that. Either my opinion stayed the same, or it kind of went up a little bit.
I want to point out, because sometimes you read Amazon reviews of books, I want to point out that this is an honest book, and if Tim doesn't like something, he's going to say that he doesn't like it. Some people expect glowing book reviews. You know, they expect you to love every single song equally. They expect you to praise everything, every burp and every fart that these artists have put out. And it's like, no. I want to hear the guy's honest opinion. I don't want to hear if I want to hear praise after praise after praise, I can just watch YouTube and, anyway.
There's the only way I could have done that is if I didn't review them. If I just said, here are the albums, here are the songs on them, here's who produced it, here's what it looks like, and I couldn't do I couldn't be anything less than honest. And I have had people take me to task for it, but I've had people say, who cares what these people think? Well, okay.
That's a fair point.
These are not the books for you then. There are lots
of
other great reads out there. Don't buy it.
Yeah. Don't read reviews in general.
I didn't like it, but I personally like these kind of things if I can tell that, first of all, I wouldn't see the point of writing a book about an artist I wasn't a fan of. To me, that's a fool's errand, right? Unless somebody offered me a bunch of money to write a book on someone, which that's never going to happen. And even still, I'd be like, is there anybody else I can write a book on? I really don't like this art. So I have to be honest within the context, but yet I'll defend him because he's got a lot of haters out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, sorry, Jex, I just want to make a joke first. By the way, Tim, regarding not getting paid and being offered a ton of money to do a book on a band, I believe we still have Max the Axe on the table. So just over to you, Jex. I've made my joke.
Well, just to keep on the topic,
overload, the listener's guide.
Just to stay on topic of honesty.
I'll write the forward for you.
There you go. So on the topic of honesty, was there ever a moment, like when you're writing the book, do you ever have a moment where you're like, oh, should I say that? Am I being a little too honest? Is that a little too harsh? Or do you just go with it?
I'm not a vindictive person. I think people that know me know that. I'm a fan of all these musicians. There was one thing that I did say a couple of times, and I had to. I'm so Canadian. I apologize for things. Nobody's been wronged, but I really wanted. People might notice that some of these albums that each have a chapter, they might say, "Well, that's not really a solo album." Well, who's it by? Oh, it's from Sammy Hagar and the Wabaritas. It's a Sammy Hagar album. You know what I mean? Right. It's Sammy Hagar and the Circle. It's a Sammy Hagar album. Okay. who's the driving force? Whose name is the beginning of, that's how I approached it. And that is no disrespect to any of the musicians. But, if you go to, say, an album like Red Voodoo from 1999, which is the first album credited to Sammy and the Wabaritas, Sammy writes most of the songs. Only Jesse Harms, keyboard player, co-writes 2 or 3 of the songs in that album. The rest of the people aren't writers. The driving force behind the albums are Sammy. So they're solo albums. It just meant all that does, and I say this in the book, all that does is mess up Discogs. Because you look at it and you go, not all the albums are there. Well, because there's actually one that's Sammy and the Wabos. So that throws things for a further loop. And then you have Cosmic Universal Fashion from 2008 that is simply credited to Sammy Hagar, but yet all the Wabaritas play on it. That further tells me it makes no difference. So
I think that's just,
but again, I'm not disrespecting. He's always had great musicians playing with him. So it's not about that. So yeah, there's maybe one time it's like, well, who cares who played, blah, 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 blah. Like, no, it matters who played. But as far as who it's credited to, as far as I'm concerned, I have them in my collection under Sammy Hagar, and this is the order they go in.
To me, all that stuff, the Wabaritas and whatnot, that's just putting a name on the players that are, his band, that particular configuration. He had those players for a long time, Vic Johnson, Mona Nader. And, it's like, you guys deserve a name. You're the Wabaritas. That's how I see it.
It's true. But yet at the same time, he didn't do that in the 80s.
True.
When he had Bill Church, Gary Peel, David Lauser, that was his backing band for several years. They never had a name.
If I may, to take a note from the Red on Black book, could that possibly be because at that time, Sammy Hagar was on the verge of breaking pretty big as a solo artist?
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure it's a record company thing. No, you can say whatever you want. We're putting this out with your name on it.
All right.
And the Uncle Meat thing, I'm glad somebody brought that up. I would urge people to read the full article. It's a non-story. It's business. It's called The Music Business, not The Music Friends. There is no animosity. Jason Bonham loves Sammy, still does. They talk regularly. It's a non-story. And personally, I'm sick of seeing it in my feed. Can we be done with it? Thank you.
You know what I'm sick of seeing in my feed? I'm sick of seeing Alex Van Halen says this and Alex Van Halen says that. I'm sick of that. I'm totally sick of it all.
Yeah,
well, we touched on that.
Read the article. Read the book before. Do not go by the sensational, the blur. The clickbait. Don't fall for the clickbait.
Exactly.
There's nothing sensational in here. Tim is fair on all counts, It's like this is shit. Okay, you know what? That's like you. Over to Jack. Put my microphone on mute.
Random and chaotic. That's us, folks. Welcome to Grab a Stack of Rock.
Yeah, Kenny Aronoff. Kenny Aronoff's. Essentially, they've got Chicken Foot Mark II. I think they should call it Chicken Foot.
Is that right? Yeah, Michael Anthony, Joe Satriani, and Kenny Aronoff. That's
the second tour.
Right, that's the last touring lineup of Chicken Foot.
Live album. Half of those tracks, Aronoff's on, right? And
actually,
Kenny's
one thing I was
on the last few Satch albums too. So
one thing I was going to ask you, because he does have all these different names for the band, what are they billing themselves as right now? Like, I can't even think of what they're calling themselves. Right? Weird, eh?
I don't think they went out as the Circle. I just they called it the Best of All Worlds Tour.
Yeah, they don't really have like a band name, do they? Hardest hitting drummer in rock. Kenny Aronoff?
He's a pretty hard hitting drummer. Well,
yeah.
I mean, and there's a theme there. Think about the drummers that Sammy's had in his band, or he's played.
Chad Smith being another, and
Denny Carmassi. Listen to Rock Candy, 1973, just booming.
He's a wicked drummer.
So, yeah.
All right, I'm not going to embarrass myself anymore. Over to you, Jex.
Man,
on the other hand, he's not going to embarrass himself any less. You want to hear a good album with Kenny Aronoff playing on it? It's called Blood on the Bricks. It's by Aldo Nova as well.
Oh.
Does he play on that? I can't remember.
He sure does.
Yeah, I remember Phil X being on that album.
Quit rubbing your. I'm right.
Are you doubting?
I'm not sure about
No, it's like I don't remember that at all, but I know he had a
It's not
connection
any
with
of
John
the
Bon
videos,
Jovi.
right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. He had a lot. He had a band. The band
Yeah.
photograph was like
Yeah.
4 pretty boy guys.
Who's the guy? Who's the drummer in the videos? Come on.
I don't know. I can't remember.
He's the
really
brother
don't
of the drummer
remember.
we just talked about.
Aronoff's in the videos?
No, that's not what I said. He's the
I
brother
see.
of one of the drummers we just talked about.
The brother of one of the drummers. Oh, I don't. I have no
Billy
idea.
Cardamone.
See, I
Really?
hate when he quizzes us. That's why I want to quiz him. I feel like I need to give him a revenge quiz.
But you
question.
shouldn't. Why did you doubt him in the first place? Especially
I
not on
didn't- it
Aldo
wasn't that
Nova.
I
What were you
doubted
doing?
He
him.
kind of started it, didn't he, Jax? He kind of started. He's rubbing. I'm not too sure about that.
No, it wasn't
Oh,
that.
man.
it was like I couldn't remember that. I haven't
You
listened to that
know he's
album in
lying.
years.
His voice gets high. No, it wasn't that.
Oh,
Right.
Go ahead.
you know
Go
what?
ahead. Come
you know
on.
what?
Come on.
Show's over. Show's
Yeah,
over.
Yeah. You want to arm wrestle about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Winner takes it all, Mike.
Oh, shit.
Oh, jeez.
As far as
Alright,
questions
derail
go,
This show is over the top.
I always derail. I did want to have fun tonight, and I did want to be
Over the
unorthodox
top there.
tonight. So we're doing all of that, but it wasn't. No, sincerely, I wasn't doubting you. It was just like, holy shit, really? Because all I could think of was that photograph of Aldo with the three,
I know,
or
yeah.
the 4 pretty boys,
Um,
right? And I forgot that the credits on the album don't necessarily match who played,
Yeah.
or the
I mean,
sorry, the picture on the album doesn't match the credits. is what
I
should
always
say.
find that weird when you have a solo artist that has a band photo. Like, I don't.
well, you
Right,
need to know
right.
who played on the album, right?
Vince Neil Band being another good example.
Yeah, but he kind of called that the Vince Neil.
But that wasn't the name. That wasn't the name on the CD cover. It was Vince Neil. So we
feel
get
like
into all
we're-
these little.
We're veering.
But it's all the same minutia. It's like
Yeah.
what's Sammy Hagar's band's name? Okay, sorry. Over to Jack.
So for people watching, I hope you're getting an idea of the thought process and the detail I try to put into all these books, because I take this stuff very seriously, and
Yeah.
I really wanted to make sure it was as accurate as possible, as update. Hagar the Horrible, I do remember that. Yep, I do remember that.
I'll have
By
to
the
look that
way,
up.
it's within just the last couple of years, Sammy found out that Hagar is not his ancestral last name.
Seriously.
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
Well, if it's in the book, I haven't gotten
It's
that far
not
yet, I
actually.
would say.
No, it wasn't
Okay.
relevant to put in the book, but it's Belcher.
Sammy
Sammy
Belcher.
Belcher
Yeah.
doesn't have the same.
No, it doesn't
effect,
have the
does it?
same commercial ring to it, but I think that's kind of funny, because I'm a big fan of the show Bob's Burgers, and that's the family
That's
name.
their last name. Yeah.
But so I mean,
So, yeah,
that's-
like-
their cameo appearance just waiting to happen. If somebody a writer on that show's a fan, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Because
I was going to say
you
there
guys
should be a
remember the episode of The
crossover.
Simpsons?
Right.
You guys remember the episode of The Simpsons where they had like Sammy sitting at one table, I think at Moe's, and the rest of Van Halen sitting at another and just glaring at each other? I don't even
Yes.
think there were any lines. I just think it was just a quick cut.
It was a visual gag.
Yeah,
Nice.
All right.
Okay.
The Simpsons predicted everything.
Question just came to my mind because you mentioned arm wrestling and Over the Top. Do you address his soundtrack appearances on here, or is it really just full length albums?
Somebody didn't read the book.
Well,
I
They're
absolutely
mentioned.
do. Yeah, I absolutely do. I know you're trying to get me to talk about the book. I get it.
exactly. Yeah. Don't put me
I
on the
hope
spot
you
like
can
that.
tell. I hope nobody's watching
You
this
put me
for
on the
first time
spot.
and thinking this guy is an arrogant jerk, and I'm like, no, we're all.
No,
we're
we're
all-
having some fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen,
Yes,
folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do.
Go ahead.
Because whenever there are either soundtrack songs or B-sides or just extra songs that didn't belong to any one particular album. I don't know why I started doing the robot there, but I talked about that in the year appropriate spot. For example, in the chapter on VOA 1984. After that, after each chapter, I do a section on either cover songs, re-recordings, or these other songs. And that's where I talk about The Girl Gets Around from Footloose. So yes, Sammy had a handful of soundtrack appearances in the 80s. I can think of at least 5.
Oh, wow.
Fast Times at
Footloose.
Ridgemont High.
Footloose, Over the Top. There's another one. Heavy Metal. Yeah. That's all I got.
Okay, so
Spaceballs.
Yes, in
Good
Van Halen,
enough.
yeah, no, but there's another Hagar solo song. Now this one's pretty obscure. I do talk about it in the proper chapter. There's a movie. I've never heard of the movie in any other context. I've got to be honest. There's a movie from 1980 called Up the Academy, which was affiliated with Mad Magazine.
It had Ralph Macchio in it.
Yeah, a very young Ralph Macchio, Robert Downey Sr. And Capitol Records put the soundtrack out, and there's a song on there of Sammy's called Bad Reputation, which is from his Danger Zone album. So it wasn't specifically for that movie.
Okay.
Right.
Although one interesting point about heavy metal is that, diehard fans will know. Yes, yeah. And Rob would know this too. There are 2 versions of heavy metal.
Yes.
But one thing I did not know until I got this after the book. So this is not in the book, unfortunately. This is a very cool UK. Is that Marty?
Hey, Marty.
This is a really cool UK single.
That
not
is
only
cool.
not only is it cool for the artwork, but it's also cool because of these 2 songs on the B-sides. Don't Get Hooked. Satisfied, neither of which are on Standing Hampton, both of which should be. They're both really
So is that the only place you can get them?
So far. So, okay. So I have the Canadian 45 of the song I'll Fall in Love Again from Standing Hampton. Satisfied is the B-side of that. So I've known about that song for a long time. I didn't know about Don't Get Hooked, I think, until the advent of Discogs. So now I've seen conflicting information on this recording of heavy metal.
Okay.
As we know, the late Keith Olsen produced Standing Hampton and Free Lock Box. They're great sounding albums. But I'm of the understanding that Roy Thomas Baker produced the soundtrack version, which would have been the only time that Sammy worked with him. So, but
Interesting.
I'm not really going anywhere with that. I'm just, yeah.
We're just talking.
But now I know I have a 12-inch single I need to add to my wish list if I want to continue collecting Sammy Hagar obscurities.
The other cool thing is that's on Epic Records. That's on CBS.
To go with the soundtrack? No, the soundtrack was
on
Warner.
Here's the deal with that. And it is one of those things. Awesome.
Yeah.
Not an easy one to find. Heavy metal.
Epic.
That soundtrack was on a label called Full Moon Records. Now, Full Moon Records, depending on what part of the world, they had different distributors.
Okay.
So there are, I think that the CD version of heavy metal is on Elektra, but I think if you look at it, there's a Full Moon logo. Let me see. What was your favorite Van Hagar album?
I know.
So there's only 3 to choose from because he's excluding 5150.
I think I know this.
Absolute favorite. Jax knows it. I think Mike knows it too. So I'll let them tell you. It's for unlawful kernel knowledge.
I was gonna say
it doesn't get any better than that. That's my favorite Van Halen album. Period. That'll piss people off, but I don't.
That's impressive. Mike
pissed me off. I like OU8.
Yeah, well, Mike's wrong about a lot of things.
Yeah, I am. That's a fact. Like
that is.
I did. You know what?
Uncle
me will remember this, but 3 years ago we did a whole show. It was like a 3-hour show on 5150, and I believe we had like 5 or 6 people on the panel, and they pummeled me because I'm not a huge 5150.
Well, you're wrong about that too. 5150 is a friggin' excellent album.
Agreed.
But for unlawful kernel knowledge, from the time Well, the funny thing about it, this is pre-internet. I didn't know they had an album coming out. It had been 3 years until you went to. I saw it in a store, and they hadn't even gotten the cassettes put in the racks yet. I took one out of the box and went and paid for it. I hadn't heard anything off of it, and when I heard and those drums kick in, and I'm like, here we go, like my band is back. And that was the summer '91. That was the summer album right there, and it's been my favorite ever since.
Might be my favorite Van Hagar, but 5150 is close. I like that one a lot.
So I just want to bring something up relating to that. You mentioned the 3-year gap between albums, okay? So anytime there was a gap between Van Halen albums, but especially during that 3-year gap, there were always the rampant rumors that Van Halen broke up. I'm sure you remember all that stuff.
Never heard
No, yeah. You never heard that? Okay, so I
know a lot of people that liked Van Halen, period, in my school. It was really weird.
Wow.
Okay, but this is something that I distinctly remember from in the summer of '88, and this leads into a question I want to ask you. But in summer of '88, I remember watching Much Music, and Michael Williams was hosting, and he had a band on called Thelonious Monster.
Yes.
And Thelonious Monster wrote a song called Sammy Hagar Weekend. But I distinctly remember Michael Williams saying, so I hear Van Halen's broken up, and Thelonious Monster are laughing like, look them, they're so stupid. So that leads me to a question about Thelonious Monster.
Who?
What was what was their problem with Sammy Hagar?
I don't know what anybody's problem with him is, but here's the thing. I'm going to say this. It's one thing to not like somebody's music, but there are people, just the mention of Sammy's name, they lose their minds. It's like, why so
Where's
angry?
Slavo? Where are you, Slavo?
You? I'm not picking on anybody. I don't get it. I want to understand why so personal. There are artists that I hate. You will never hear me mention them because somebody out there likes them. What's the point?
Right. Anyway, one thing
Inside is a silly song, but I still think it's funny.
I like it.
That is probably true. Are you talking early 80s, Marty?
Probably.
Because they played in, I want to say, Pueblo, Colorado. It was like an arena, and the staging sank through the stage. So this is going back Women and Children First, Fair Warning era. And you guys know the whole Brown Eminem story. And David Lee Roth talks about it. Alex talks about it in his book. The idea of no brown M&Ms in the contract wasn't about them being divas. I mean, it probably was in Dave's case. But it was to see if they actually read it. Yeah. So if they saw a brown M&M, they're like, what else didn't they read? So the staging sunk into the floor, caused a lot of damage. And of course,
there was actually a very clever health and safety loophole, basically, where they could say,
now,
if there's a brown M&M in that bowl, we don't know what gone wrong. What else has gone wrong because they did not read the contract.
I believe that Dave in his book, Crazy from the Heat, says something to the effect of, the contract writer read like the Chinese yellow pages, but, and then so buried somewhere in the middle of nowhere, there shall be no brown M&Ms anywhere in the dressing room area, forfeiture of the show. Now, what is cool about that era too, Van Halen started their Fair Warning tour, my favorite of the Dave albums, in Halifax, which is in our neck of the woods.
Wow.
I didn't go. I was 6, but it's still cool to think about that it actually happened.
That they were so close. Yeah. That would have been incredible.
Sorry, I was muted there.
Let me do a little late reading.
Jackson's doing just a little late reading. Can we talk about the design real quick?
I think we should.
Yeah. So Matt Phillips from, as we mentioned, Go North. There's the logo right there. Very nice, very striking front cover. And I really like the back cover too. He just did a really nice job on this book. So, can you tell us anything about the process? Did it come together quickly?
Well, there's a front cover and there's a back cover and there's a spine. The front cover photo of Sammy is one that we paid. The website's escaping me now. It's inside the alamy.com. You can license photos, basically. Like it's a photo that somebody took of Sammy on stage. The rest of the photos are all from my collection. Everything in that book is from my personal collection. So
Nice.
That's quite the high res scanner.
Yeah, originally, Matt and I had worked on an AI assisted cover, sort of like the cover of our Kansas book.
Yeah.
But Matt decided not to do that, and I'm really glad he decided not to do that. And I'm not going to go into why.
Okay. But we are happy with the results.
You can really abuse it. Let's put it, you can really abuse it.
Okay.
So did I understand? I feel like during one of our conversations, you said Matt had a little less involvement with this one in comparison to the other books, or was he as involved? Did I misunderstand?
It's complicated.
Okay, we don't have to go there.
It's a story. It started out that way, but he ended up being very okay. Here's my comparison. Def Leppard fans will understand this. You know how Mutt Lange wasn't heavily involved with Hysteria until much later, and then it really started to happen. That's kind of how it was with this book.
Gotcha.
What was the Gene Simmons story on him saying he discovered Van Halen? Well, that is more or less true. Gene went to see them at, I believe, at the Starwood, and he wasn't.
That sounds right.
He wasn't going there to see Van Halen. Do you know who?
Yeah, he was there to see the Boys or something like that. He said, "Yeah, the BOYZZ."
Yeah, which featured which guitarist?
I'm gonna say Blackie Lawless.
Well,
Because in the Much Music interviewer, he says, "quote unquote," which featured Blackie Lawless or Nikki Sixx or some other rock person. That's what he said in the Much Music interview. That's a direct quote.
That?
Gene Simmons.
Gene Simmons?
Well, that's not.
That was it. Well, of course it's not right. Because he said Blackie Lawless or Nikki Sixx or some other rock person. So he clearly didn't remember.
It was George Lynch.
It was George Lynch. Oh, there you go. See, he couldn't even remember. Didn't know George Lynch from Mick Mars. That's funny.
Oh, Gene. So yeah, the story, that's Gene's story is true. But the other story that always comes up with Gene in relation to Van Halen was asking, Eddie to join Van Halen circa 82. Personally, I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
There's a need for one, Meat. There really is. I mean, okay. We talked about this last week with Archie Gamble. What would be really cool is an updated version of Brian's autobiography, because that would be the Helix book.
And Archie offered to proofread it and everything.
Hopefully Brian has a change of heart, because I would love to see that. Because even though it came out in 2005, and yes, it takes you through the whole history of the band and a lot of stuff that I would have never known any other way. It's almost 20 years ago. So a lot's happened since then. So there you go.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of band history and a couple of deaths. And Jax, go ahead. We're talking about the wrong band here. We're going to talk about Helix next week. We got Archie Gamble and Tim Durling coming back next week to talk about Helix. So we'll get there.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Each day just goes, guys. Each day goes into the next. I do one of these almost.
I don't know
about. Would I waste my time?
No. Someone else can write that book.
And Vinny's solo stuff. Cannot listen to it for a second.
Oh, it's overkill.
I turn into my parents. What is that racket you're playing? That's what it sounds like to me.
And I tried
that song Twisted. I want to hurt somebody when I hear it. I just get that off my
twisted.
And it has so much potential. With the Slaughter but
you know who can write
Back
that book?
The Streets is a good song.
Yeah, that's a Kiss song basically. But you know who can write that book? My good mate Peter Kerr. He can write that book. I'm not touching it. My good mate Peter Kerr.
Mike, give up on the Australian. Just not. Insulting the entire country.
The first Slaughter is fine.
No, Slaughter and Invasion are two different animals.
I know. No,
Slaughter,
Marty calls.
Slaughter had, now, I'm not a huge fan, but Slaughter had songs.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I've got two book ideas that I'm concurrently working on.
yeah,
No
we can't
details
talk
to be
about this.
revealed. No details to be revealed, but yeah,
No.
I'm always working on something.
Okay. Well, that was my next question. Uncle Meat beat me to the punch. That was going to be my next
Jex
question.
already knows. He's just being coy.
Well, I already know one of them too.
I know one for sure. I don't know if I
Yeah.
can remember.
I think
the
Jex
other
and I might know the same one. We might have some kind of involvement with one.
Actually, that's right. Yeah, you would only know one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
But I do know one of them, and I can't tell you.
Poker Face. Yeah.
That's right. It's the Lady Gaga biography coming soon to a bookshop.
The Spoons. You know
That-
what? That would make for a cool read. The Spoons are
would.
coming. They're going to be in Jex's backyard with Honeymoon Suite, Men Without Hats, and Flock of Seagulls. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make that. But
I'd love to go as well, but can't after the box show.
yeah.
So I think, Mike, do you have anything else to address? I think I'm everything I want.
Yeah, well, let me just. I did write down some questions. I'm not just freewheeling it. Well, again, going back to the book, something that I learned is that Van Halen were fans of Montrose long before Sammy was in the picture. Do you think Roth still listens to Montrose? I'm just.
I mean,
I don't. I bet you he doesn't.
This is one thing that I'm gonna do a political type answer. I'm not gonna answer it directly, but no. This is some.
Oh, did we lose Tim? Did he
I
freeze?
think we lost them. Yeah.
We may have lost him. I'm going to answer on his behalf. No comment. No comment. My personal opinion is that I don't think
I doubt
Roth
it.
listens to Montrose anymore.
That gets a pat.
Oh.
He's back. He's back. We answered on your behalf with a big fat no comment.
You froze.
I'm perfectly fine. It's you guys.
Oh shit! He keeps freezing.
No, he's not. He's not frozen. He's
Or
messing
he's
with
not.
it. See, I've known Tim long.
But what I'm
enough.
saying is that most people will give it up for that first Montrose album, including Dave. So, he might say something disparaging, but deep down, I think he's got to admit it's a good album.
Yeah.
But yeah, Van Halen did Rock Candy and Make It Last from that album. They did. Hey, Logan. What is going on in here? We've been trying to figure that out for the better part of an hour.
Logan, you've missed some really cool train wrecks.
But yeah. Once in a while we get on the track. But a case in point, where am I going with this? You can find a clip of Van Halen on YouTube doing a very, very, very poorly recorded version of Make It Last from like an audience recording in 1974. So yes, it is possible to hear David Lee Roth sing a song by Sammy Hagar.
Isn't that
but
awesome?
I mean, Van Halen did a ton of covers, as we know. I mean, everybody from James Brown, the Ohio Players, Black Sabbath, Kiss, and it makes sense. I mean, Montrose, that first album, that was the template for Van Halen. It totally was. You had Ted Templeman and Don Landy working on the album sonically, and they did a fantastic job. Four-piece band named after their guitar player. Yes, I know the drummer's name, Van Halen, but and it's that American style hard rock at a time when there wasn't a lot of it. So it absolutely was an influential album on all sorts of bands, and Van Halen was just one of them.
So Logan has a great question here that maybe is a good one to go out on. If we go in a circle and name our favorite, well, no, we got to finish with Tim. We got to finish with Tim because you're the special guest. So think for a moment, Tim, and Jex and I are going to freewheel it. What's my favorite Hagar tune solo? Because I was listening to it today and I still really like it. Swept Away from the VOA album, which there's a TVC episode coming up where Tim and I discuss that album and that song. It's really atmospheric. It's very different. It has these really kind of not quite psychedelic, but almost like you're at a tropical beach at midnight kind of feel. And then it goes into these rockin' verses and a wicked outro. So my pick is Swept Away. How about yours, Jex?
Mine is on the Three Lock Box album. I believe it's the closer. It's been a while since I listened to the album. I Don't Need Love.
Yeah.
What a killer guitar. Oh, the guitar there.
Yeah.
Oh,
great song.
That's a great song.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Heavy.
I'm going to go with Mike. Swept Away. What a great song.
Whoa.
It's so. I said the same thing when I was on the Bogus Sodas podcast when and I had to think about it for a second because as much as I can name you a favorite album, I've never really thought about favorite song. And Three Lock Box is actually my favorite album all the way through. But Swept Away,
Mine
what
too.
a cool song! What a cool song! Should have been a single. Yeah, you're right. It's atmospheric, and it doesn't sound forced.
Oh, it sounds like they were just
islands, and then one night. Like it's just a cool song. Like
it sounds like it just grew naturally out of playing, I think. And it's a great tune.
And
wow.
You're right. The outro is.
Oh, look at Logan.
When the Hammer Falls, great song, and as people may know, I'm doing a deep dive on each of the Sammy Hagar albums. It's very much in process, and that's going to stretch till probably February. Mike has helped me out on at least one of those, and stay tuned for the thoughts on the '87 album, whatever you want to call it.
I Never Said Goodbye or Sammy Hagar, your pick. When I bought it, it was called Sammy Hagar. When it came out on CD, I think it was still Sammy Hagar for a while. And
when it came out in '87, all of the formats were self-titled. It wasn't until '92 that it was reissued on cassette and CD with the.
And you have an 8-track copy of it. I've seen of Sammy Hagar. It's in the book. Anyway,
isn't it? A lot of things are in the book. Yes, Vinyl Mania 2025. Yes, I hope to be there. Hopefully, Sebastian Bach's not playing 2 nights after. I mean, no, actually, that would be very cool. But yeah, that was just. And thank you, Marty. Marty's a big supporter, and we'll try to give him a shout out whenever possible.
No, it really sucks. We're just at the end of the show, and we've got peak viewership at 14. Which, sorry, folks, you're at the end of the show. It's 9:00 at night where Tim and Jex are. So, Sammy Hagar rules, says Logan, and I think that Sammy Hagar rules is what he said. Well, that's kind as well. That's very kind of you. But I think we all agree, except for Slavo, wherever he is, that we have a love for Sammy Hagar, not only as a solo artist, but with Van Halen, Chickenfoot, Montrose.
What's the Slavo? I'm so confused.
He's the guy who left those comments this morning on my YouTube short. Sammy Hagar, who? And I'm like, why are you even commenting? Like, it's such a stupid thing to say. And then he went back and forth about how. Well, I'm like, why did you leave this comment? Oh, because I hate Sammy Hagar. And I'm like, don't watch the show. And he actually said he was going to watch the show. He's like, nobody will be in the comments. It'll just be me. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. Anyway, thank you, Uncle Meat. Really appreciate it. And we will be seeing, actually, hopefully, Uncle Meat will be submitting a video for Archie Gamble next week on Grab a Stack of Rock, because it turns out the Meat Man has opened for Gamble 3 times when Gamble was in the Joys. Yeah. So we have some cool stories coming from Uncle Meat. Dan Chartrand will be submitting a video, and Dr. Catherine will be submitting a video. So that's next week on Grab a Stack of Rock. Tim Durling, what do you have coming up on the TVC YouTube channel?
He's frozen.
Oh, we lost him. We lost him. Jex, what do you got coming up on? What do you got coming up on jexcaliber.wordpress.com?
Okay, so it's a work in progress. So I'm not really posting anything as of now because I'm starting to work on a December project. I want to try to do. I doubt it's going to be 12, but I want to kind of do a 12 days of Christmas, where I review a Christmas special or a Christmas episode from a sitcom or a Christmas movie for 12 days. I'm probably not going to make it to 12 realistically, but I am working on some that will be released. So there's going to be some Christmas specials, and that's what I'm working on. You can expect episodes of Different Strokes. There's going to be Who's the Boss, The Real Ghostbusters, stuff like that, Pee-wee's Playhouse. So that's kind of what I'm working on, and as is expected from my blog, nostalgia is the name of the game. So It should be a fun time.
So check him out at jexcaliber.wordpress.com. You can see the address there. He does some wonderful stuff. He's been spending a lot of time scanning magazines, taking pictures of toys and all kinds of stuff that basically 80s and early 90s nostalgia. And I love it. And thanks for co-hosting. I don't know if Tim's going to be able to make it back on tonight. I think my phone was dinging here. Let me just check, see if that's Tim. Yeah, Good night, ha ha ha. So that's it. Check out Tim's Vinyl Confessions on YouTube. Obviously, you probably know that already. Why did you boot Tim? Logan, no, I didn't. But Tim will be back next week with Archie Gamble from Helix, and we'll be talking.
Purchase this book
that at the link below, or just go on your local Amazon, type in Durling in a search engine. There's not very many hits for Durling.
I feel pretty privileged and honored, I must say, because I'm one of the few people that got the book from the author himself. He hand gave it to me when we went to the Sebastian Bach concert. However, Timmy, I was promised an autograph. I didn't get it. So you owe me a signature, but that'll be good.
I believe my Unspooled is signed. I believe it is.
So is mine, yeah.
I've retired my original because it was a Kickstarter. I retired my original Unspooled so that it doesn't wear and tear anymore. It's at the cottage. My travel copy is the Amazon printing. That's your fault for not remembering. Thanks. Anyway, we had a wonderful night tonight. Thanks, Marty. Thanks, Meat. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks, Logan. Hey, Logan. Nice to see you, buddy. And maybe we'll see Logan on the channel in December, because there may be things cooking. So maybe Logan will be making his Grab a Stack of Rock debut.
Maybe we'll meet.
Debut, as Peter Kerr would say. I shouldn't do that.
Peter Kerr is gonna cut you off.
Before we go, I just want to run something real quick that T-Bone Erickson made 1 year ago. Jex has already seen this, but this is relating to the 5150 show that we did, where I kind of was outnumbered and piled up on. But this is T-Bone Erickson on Mike Ladano's opinion on 5150.
Hey, Mike, the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar here. Hope you're having a great 1 year anniversary show. Now, I got a little bone to pick with you about the 5150 album. I know you kind of panned a couple years ago on an episode of your show. Your main problem with that album was lack of depth and creativity in my lyrics. And by contrast, you referred to David Lee Roth as a poet. Would you have preferred if I had put in something more like this? I mean, that is some kind of poetry. But all joking aside, Mike, I do have a question for you. Could you name me your 3 favorite Van Hagar era songs? And remember, only time will tell if we stand the test of time. Thanks for having me. Peace to you all, and to Jex, one love.
Well, that was too good not to play again. And I guess I got to name my 3 favorite songs again, which are going to be different from last time. But I was listening to Balance today. Really like the 7th Seal. Really like that tune. Love Cabo Wabo.
Yes.
And I guess I'm going to say, why can't this be love?
Ooh.
So those are my 3, man. Those are my 3.
Yeah.
You want to pick 3 and then we go?
I don't know if I could pick 3 out of the gate, off the top of my head. Number 1 is Get Up. That's my favorite Van Hagar tune. Get Up. Like, so you know the story. It's so heavy.
Yes.
It's so good. Man. Also from 5150 is Good Enough. I like that one. And man, I can't.
You know what?
All the titles I'm drawing blanks.
You know what, Jex? How much time do you have left?
I'm not in a hurry.
Let's play a video. Let's see if I can anyway.
Oh, is this the Get Up story? You have it on
know what? It's the wrong. I don't have it in the right file format. I can't play it. But anyways, about a year ago, roughly a year ago, Jex and his buddy Pla and I and Harrison did a Van Halen top 5 bangers. And by bangers, we mean like hard-hitting songs. And there's a really cool bit of Pla hearing the song Get Up for the very first time in his life. And Jackson Pla just starts spontaneously dancing to the song. It's a freaking great video. I wish I could play it.
It was caught, it was caught on video because I heard the song and I thought this is great. And then the next time Pla came over, I played it for him. I'm like, I'm going to record your reaction because I wish I would have had mine on tape. And I invite everyone to go check it out. Hey, Bonnie. Hello.
Thanks, Mom. Oh, and Marty, naming off right now. Logan, Judgment Day, 5150, and 7th Seal. Oh, so we both picked 7th Seal.
Excellent.
Wicked.
I can't place it right now. I'll have to go back and listen to it. I haven't listened to Balance It forever. I am due for a re-listen.
You know, there was a period in time where Gregorian chants were very big. Do you remember Gregorian chant CDs? And Iron Maiden and Van Halen both used Gregorian chants on their opening tracks of their 1995 albums. Fact. Opening the track, I believe. Anyway, it has been a fun show. Pick up Tim's book, Red on Black. Jex may not have read it, but I have. And I'm sure you picked up a lot of information tonight. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's tons more information in this book.
Oh, and the presentation, like
second,
this is all from his collection. It's all his
8-track tapes and everything.
Yeah.
So, Jex, as you know, we always like to go out on a song. You have a song request on this evening.
You have a song request?
Do you have a song request?
Well, you played one of my favorites to open the show is I Gotta. So
you want to hear Gods on the radio?
Yeah. So I don't know. Oh, good ones, Uncle Meat. Why can't this love memes? Excellent.
And one more comment from Logan. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. I'm going to try to get you on in December if possible. Okay.
What's the music? Thanks, Logan. What's that music video? It's a Canadian band. They had a name. They changed the name. You play it sometimes. The name is escaping me. It's really good. It's really good.
Had a name and changed their name.
Yeah, you reviewed them. You play their videos sometimes at the end of a show. Yeah, I can remember you uploaded their song and it's like a VHS tape with their name on it.
Oh, is that one of those ones? One of those cover tunes? Like I've got the Time by Clockwork Orange, and I've got them doing Victim of Changes. But I don't want to play that one. If I play that one, I'm not going to be able to monetize the video. I want to play a video I can monetize.
Okay. Well, you know what?
Let's go with Gods on the Radio. This is the opening track, the one we opened with today. So this is Max the Axe, who is apparently going to get Tim Durling to write their biography. Max the Axe with Gods on the Radio.
And I got to go downstairs, so I'll see you all
later.
Take
care, Jex, and thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everyone. Oh, shit.
You guys, see you later. Dude,
fuck off.